I saw the desktop audio. I was like, why is that still going? Okay. We're going to start it over one more time. One more time. This last time.
On the 24th of February 1982, Christian Weston Chandler was born as Christopher Weston Chandler. Parents Robert Franklin Chandler Jr. and Barbara Ann Weston in Martha Jefferson Hospital, Virginia. One of Chris's earliest memories was being locked in a dark room at 18 months old by an abusive babysitter named Roach, which he claimed was the event that caused his autism. This would have
I don't think that's how autism.
lasting consequences. This event also caused him to be a mute for the next 6 years. When Chris was 2 years old, he would meet his original gal pal, Sarah Hammer. In 1987, Chris would attend Greene County Primary School, where he would then leave in 1990 to attend Nathaniel Greene Elementary School, where he would have the most traumatic experience of his life. Chris claimed while he was there, he would be abused by staff members. He recalls times where he'd be pinned to the ground by multiple staff members, and his cries were recorded, and later was forced to sit on his homosexual principal's lap and listen to him say inappropriate and offensive things to him.
I'm not saying that didn't happen to him. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be listened to, but how likely do you think that, like, do you think that really happened? And if so, like, do you think that's the exact situation that happened? Because we know Chris Chan is obviously a little, like, he's on the spectrum, obviously, but he is not really socially aware sometimes. He doesn't like black people either. I'm not sure how true that is today, but I know he said he doesn't like black women. But yeah, like, did this situation really happen? Is it like a Jupiter the hybrid kind of situation? I don't know. We'll never know.
Chris would then leave Nathaniel Greene to be homeschooled. In 1991, Sonic the Hedgehog would be released, beginning Chris's lifelong obsession. In 1992, he would change his name from Christopher to Christian, after a bear animatronic at the mall mistakenly called him Christian. Chris took this as a sign from God. In 1993, Chris would attend Providence Middle School, and later that year would win the Sonic the Hedgehog Watch and Win sweepstakes, becoming the first of his many TV appearances. 1996 would be an eventful year for Chris. He would begin attending Manchester High School, where he claimed he had the best years of his life. It was also around this time where he would create his first ever original character, Bionic, after being hit in the head with a basketball at school. Also in that year, the Pokemon franchise would be released in North America, beginning another of Chris's.
I remember when I used to watch Pokemon when I was younger. I really enjoyed Pokemon. I have no idea why. Maybe because I just thought the Pokemon were cool. Maybe because, I don't know, I just really liked how they looked, how colorful they were. But I just had this strange, I wouldn't even say it was strange because, you know, I was a kid. But I remember I used to want to be a Pokemon trainer. There was this other kid that used to be in my class. His name was Jason Jones. Sorry I doxed him. Not really, but saying his full last name. Y'all get it. We used to have this. I'm about to show y'all right now. I used to have this Pokemon book that we both used to go through, right? And I remember our teacher wasn't there that day, so we had to get split up into different classes. So me and him were in the class. We got split up into a 4th grade class at the time. And I remember all day we were just reading through this Pokemon book, just giggling and talking through the back of class. And she was like, "What do you get out of reading that Pokemon book? You read it like 1,000,000 times." And I was just thinking in my head, like, yo, you are actually glazing. Like, what's the problem? And we still continued to do that, but I remember that vividly. She made us do like do-nows and stuff like that. Let me show you the book. I'll be right back because I was just looking at it. Oopsie. Just right here. Give me a second. Whew. It's in my little thing. Sorry. It's right here. You had to. Whew, oh my gosh! You had to find Pokemon, and it was like a what's that called? Where's Waldo type of thing, where they'd be hitting through like the book, right? And you have to go find them. $30 to anybody who can find all the Pokemon on this page. Oh, that's it. That's all the time you got. But yeah, Pokemon was really. It was really intertwined with my life. But back to Chris Chan. That's something me and Chris Chan have in common. I shouldn't have done that. My bad. Charge my head, not my heart.
lifelong obsessions. In 1998, he began to use the internet to spread his creations by launching his first website, Quick's Pocusite. Quick being a word based on his initials CWC. In 2000, Chris would turn 18 years old, and on March of that year, the world would be changed forever. Chris was tasked with creating an album cover for his computer graphics class. One of the requirements was he couldn't use any copyrighted characters. So to avoid copyright, he would combine his two greatest obsessions, Sonic and Pikachu, creating the infamous
Yo! Why would he do that? Why would he do that? Yo, no, whatchamacallit? Epilepsy warning? Why would he, yo? I hope y'all
Domino's, you can get any 2 medium.
nearly all his friends. In September of 2000, Chris would begin attending Piedmont, Virginia Community College, studying computer-aided drafting and design. In October, he would launch his first website dedicated to Sonichu, Quick's Sonichu site. And later that winter, the prized historical artifact known as the Sonichu Medallion would be created. In 2003, Chris would realize how lonely he was and begin his love quest, a journey that's destination would be getting a girlfriend. To find his boyfriend-free girl, he would create something called the Attraction Sign, which would hang around campus that read, seeking an 18 to 21-year-old single female companion, along with his contact information. Eventually, the Dean of Student Services, Mary Lee Walsh, came into contact with Chris and tore it down on the grounds that Chris was soliciting sex. This caused Chris to swag the fuck out. Later, Chris would create the first ever comic involving his characters, known as Sonichu number 0, which is the first issue, even though it says the 0th issue on it. For some reason, Chris formats his comic really weirdly. Each issue has multiple episodes to it, but the number doesn't reset like chapters in a book. Nah, it doesn't fucking do that, because that'd make too much sense. So you have episodes where it's episode 19, which is also part of issue 9, if that makes any sense. There are also sub-episodes, which are unrelated stories about Chris's life. Issue 0 details the origin of Sonichu, is created when Super Sonic collides with Pikachu while fighting the perfect chaos monster from Sonic. Chris also
my question is, like, why couldn't his mom just pay a little bit more attention to him? I feel like that is a very, very big issue, you know? Like, was she working? Ooh, excuse me. Like, does she have no choice but to, you know, leave Christian with his babysitter that gave him autism? But yeah, like, it's just, like, weird how, like, maybe one thing could have deterred this whole subculture, I don't even know what to call it. Like he has his own genre, like, of people, you know? Like, if you say somebody's like Christian, you get what I'm saying. Like, he's somebody like this, right? Like, what if Christian didn't exist? What if he didn't, like... You get what I'm trying to say? Sonichu, Tofiichu, okay, because you keep talking about your wife, Tofiichu. Give her a call. Is she still in a motel? Is she still living there? You gotta help her. That's supposed to be your significant other. Tofiichu probably stink, yo. Oh my gosh. People don't like it when I talk like that about other people, but come on. Tofia probably smells. Ugh. Charge my head down my heart, y'all. Ranchu, whoa. Delete that. Somebody delete that. What? Ranchu?
It's a sub-episode, which is about a real-life encounter with mall security, which Chris calls jerk hops, where they get mad at him for apparently soliciting. This is based on a real event that happened in real life. In July of 2003, Chris began trying to find women at his local...
Yo! Did he make this? Is this actually him? Or did somebody make this online? No darkies? That is insane. Yo.
Mall by holding his attraction sign and sitting in a populated area. Later at the game place, he would meet a new gal pal known as Megan Schroeder, who he would try to win over in various Quagmirian ways. In September, Chris would be arrested and banned from his local mall because his means of getting a girlfriend were deemed as soliciting. Later, he would be suspended from PVCC for the same reasons. On February 5th of 2005, Anna McLaren would write a blog post about seeing Chris at the mall known as The Tale of the Crazy Pacer, making it the first ever documentation of Chris online that didn't come from Chris himself. On the 29th of March, Chris would be approached by a woman named Hannah at the mall, where she would ask him out on a date as a joke. Eventually, Chris found out Hannah was never actually interested in him. After confronting her and realized the truth, Chris let out a big NO! Terrifying other...
I wish this guy would stop screaming. We're only 4 minutes in. How long have I've been streaming for almost an hour. I feel like... Okay, we watched My Hero. I feel like we've been here for like 10 minutes now. Part of that was because of the water break, but still, oh my gosh. And the haze. What's with the haze in the video? I don't like that. It's really, it makes me feel dizzy. You know, maybe it's because of the Minecraft gameplay, but still.
Customers, which led him to being banished from the mall once again. On his 25th birthday in 2007, Chris would create his iconic future message video. During this time, Chris would be getting especially hands-on with Megan. Chris would enter the Chop Chop Master Onions Rapid Showdown contest online in hopes
of... And then another thing, the schizo, like, he gets real close to the mic every now and then after like, you know, an important word, vocab word or something. That's a little jarring. Sometimes he starts to scream. I don't like that.
Winning a trip to Seattle, as you plan on taking Megan too. Chris would try to ensure his victory in this contest by emailing everyone he's ever met, telling them to vote in his contest, and staying up all night making dumb accounts to rig the voting. On August 3rd, the results of the contest were released, and the winner turned out to be a man by the name of Adam Stackhouse. This, for some reason, gave Chris the wrath of Satan himself, and caused him to make a bunch of videos threatening Adam Stackhouse. On the 26th of October 2007, Chris was found by the Something Awful forums, introducing the world to Chris Chan. Shortly after, an Encyclopedia Dramatica page was created to compile all the information discovered about Chris on Something Awful. Encyclopedia Dramatica is a site that's meant to be like Wikipedia, but as foul and as offensive as possible. So when Chris saw it, he was not pleased. To make matters worse, Chris and his characters had become the new thing to make fun of on 4chan's V-board, leading a man by the name of Evan Christopher George to start sending Chris gay fan art the boards have been making about him. Chris, being the Aryan that he is, was not pleased by this fan art. In response to seeing so much gay fan art of his characters, Chris would have a brilliant idea.
Dude, oh my gosh. Like, I'm not saying that fan art is bad, but if I were to get fan art of my little PNG kissing other dudes, I would be a little upset. Because it's like, y'all know I don't do that. Why would y'all make me do that? Why would y'all make my PNG, why would y'all make my brain do that? You know, like, what? That's so weird.
He would draw straight porn of his characters. One image being of Chris and
an
unknown woman known as She Came for a Quick.jpg, who was eventually identified as his friend Megan. This would have lasting consequences. 3 months later, in March of 2008, Megan discovered She Came for a Quick.jpg and was understandably horrified and cut all ties with Chris shortly after. Also in August, a group of trolls came together under the alias of Blanca Weiss to catfish Chris Chan and trick him into sending them his medallion. In October, trolls posing as Blanca would receive the Sonichi medallion in the mail from Chris and film a video destroying it. After going on hiatus from releasing new comics, trolls would inform Chris that a boy named Brian Cash had killed himself after hearing that he would no longer be creating Sonichu comic. This, of course, being completely made up just to fuck with Chris. In early January, Chris would meet a woman named Julie online and quickly start a relationship with her, even though he was already in another troll relationship at the time with the user named Panda Halo. It was around this time that Chris would soon become aware of his new arch nemesis known as Clyde Cash, brother of Ryan Cash. In February, Chris had learned that Panda Halo had apparently died in a bushfire in Australia, which Chris seemed to get over really quickly, immediately moving on to date Julie. Towards the end of the month, Chris learned that the trolls had formed a group called the Miscreants that dedicated to ensuring Chris would never get laid. On the 24th, the Miscreants would inform Chris they had captured Julie and were sending her to China. So in response, Chris would make the 400-mile journey to Cleveland, Ohio to save Julie. When he reached the address of Julie's house, he finds an old rundown house with no relation to Julie at all. The 3rd of March would go down in Chris as possibly the worst ever day of Chris's life.
It's a little crazy that they would... They knew he would do something like that. They knew how gullible he was. And they still made him go to... Where does he live? Because he traveled from where to Cleveland, Ohio? That's crazy. That's sad. You know, like, I feel kind of bad for him because, man. One thing Chris Chan does have over me is a driver's license. Do I suck? On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do I suck compared to Chris Chan? Be honest, don't be mean though.
Julie's fake brother, who was voiced by the same troll as Julie, would hack into Chris's PSN account to use his blackmail for Chris. Chris would join a mumble chat with Max to negotiate with him giving back his PSN, but Chris was forced to shove his Sonichu medallion up his ass while being recorded. Later, the troll posing as Julie would audio call Chris on Mumble and reveal himself to Chris. After having his heart broken by another fake online girlfriend, Chris would link up with a new fake girlfriend, this being Emily, who's actually played by a real girl this time, which is kind of a step up, I guess. Emily and Chris would plan a date at Charlottesville Fashion Square, but Chris actually stood her up because his parents were fighting over if she was real or not. They then rescheduled the date to take place 2 days later. Chris unknowingly falling right into her plan. Chris would meet up with Ivy, accompanied by his dad for some fucking reason, when suddenly the man in the pickle suit would descend from the heavens to cuck Chris, taking Emily from him. On the 17th of March, another fake new love interest named Ivy would reach out to Chris asking for a shout out, which would quickly lead to a relationship forming between the two of them. For some fucking reason, Chris ramped up the creepiness by about 10 notches with her.
Hi, Ivy. I love you.
Remember, all this happened.
Oh, because imagine getting a video like that. Hold on, y'all. Whoopsie. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Like, I would be extremely uncomfortable if, because the dude, what's his name, Suck Butter? If one of my loyal sagers sent me a picture of their hand touching the computer screen like this, I'd be angry. I'd be like, yo, what are you doing? Get a grip. Oh my gosh.
Eventually, Chris would realize Ivy was a troll and return to his old methods of attracting women in public. In June, Chris would go to a local bar with the troll Kim Wilson, who, side note, is played by the same troll as Emily. Chris somehow saw both personas in real life and in person, and somehow didn't realize that they were the same person playing different characters. It would take Chris 11 years to realize the woman behind both personas was a troll. Chris would continue going to bars with Kim Wilson and would land a date with a fat woman who would quickly ghost him after their first interaction. In mid-July, Chris would have the brilliant idea to troll the trolls. He would attempt to get them to think he was actually playing a character this whole time, and that Kristen Weston Chandler was never a real person. He'd do this by uploading a video where he pretends to be a normal person known as Rollin' and Trollin'. This is what Chris thinks a normal person looks like. Later, a man who fans would dub Liquid Chris would begin uploading videos to YouTube pretending to be Chris and would claim he made lots of money off the Sonichu franchise. Chris was not pleased and would make the first of many videos manically screeching about Liquid.
Y'all know Liquid Chris is apparently like a doctor now. And he makes a lot of money and got his life together. How do they not know? Because Liquid Chris apparently is like a very, very key component to this Chris Chan lore story. But, like, did his employers either A, not care, or B, like, just not know? Like, he was so good at his craft, so good at being a doctor, that oh, okay, we can ignore that he trolled an autistic guy for, however long. Or was it just an old guy who's in the hiring process and was like, oh, I don't know what a Chris Chan is. Hire this dude. That's crazy. Crazy to think about where life leads to.
Which eventually would start a back and forth between the two. To settle the rivalry, Real Chris starts the Sing Star Challenge, which is a singing competition whose winner will be dubbed the Real Chris. Chris would lose. Even Chris is shit at being Chris. As the rivalry between the two Chris's continues, it became more and more apparent that Chris is doing this in an attempt to steal Liquid Chris's girlfriend Casey, who is fat and I don't like. Towards the end of August, we would possibly get my favorite bit of Chris lore ever made. Chris would upload the usual video to his channel, screaming about trolls and shit. But eventually, people would notice something unusual about the video. Halfway through, the door opens and suddenly cuts to a few seconds later. So people were wondering what happened that Chris had to cut out. And it did not disappoint. In the uncut video, Bob walks in and starts yelling at Chris about getting that goddamn stuff off of there and fast. Yet at the end of 2009, Chris would start answering mailbags, which revealed Chris's hatred towards people with Asperger's syndrome. During this time, trolls would start adding gay ads to the Wikipedia, which rustled Chris's jimmies. In fact, Chris's jimmies were so rustled that he sent a letter to Obama himself to try to get the United States government to ban the ads. Alec Benson Leary would begin creating a comic known as Aspertu to piss off Chris, and Chris would declare war against Aspertu. In late January, Chris revealed that he had actually managed to befriend a real-life woman who will be known as the Wallflower for reasons that I will reveal later. Surprisingly, the 10th issue of Sonichu didn't take an entire year to make, and it was released in
That looks kind of cool. Like, I know he didn't draw that. He couldn't have drew that. That looks kind of hard. If you don't think that's hard, come on. Like, the tail, I think it's because of the tail, the shoes, and Sonic is just a cool... He's just a cool guy. He has a cool silhouette. So, come on. Don't tell me this isn't hard. Do not tell me this isn't hard.
Issue 10 was probably one of the most deranged issues in the entire series. It involves Chris curing the world of homosexuality by using his own blood. Later in the comic, Chris sentences real-life trolls to death in various gory ways. In March, Chris created a Little Big Planet level which contained the Wallflower's real name, which led to her getting doxxed and harassed.
Let me go back. Did that say daddy?
Of homosexuality by using his own blood. Later in the comic, Chris...
Alright, daddy, let's finish him. Did he... So, I have a question. Is he Sonichu? Or is Sonichu just another being outside of Chris Chan? Because that's... Or is he living through Sonichu? Is it like an allegory for his life? I'm not sure. And either way, why would he make his own daughter? Like, realistically, who would bear Chris Chan's offspring? Like, and I don't know if he's gonna get into it during this video. He said that he went to jail. Christian went to jail, became transgender in order for him to get more women. So it's like, I don't know how that works, but at the end of the day, it's being counterproductive. You know, like it. That's why we're here. We're learning about the Christian law. That's why we're here.
His sentences real-life trolls to death in various gory ways. In March, Kristen created a Little Big Planet level which contained the Wallflower's real name, which led to her getting doxxed and harassed. Kristen in response to break the fuck out, even though it was him who caused it in the first place. In April, Chris began a relationship with another troll named Jackie. That same month, Chris make a holy pilgrimage to the game place to attempt to get unbanned by the owner, Michael Schneider. Upon hearing Schneider didn't want him back, Chris awakened his ancient Yamnaya tribe sorcery, also known as anti-Semitism. In June, Chris got drunk and felt the road calling to him. Chris had the brilliant idea to go to the game place and take a picture of Michael Snyder to use as a dartboard. Michael noticed Chris trying to take a photo of him and chased him outside to his car, where he nearly hit Snyder.
You all know the rules. No real names, no cell phones.
Whose kid is she?
A very wealthy man who's
Gus.
about to be $50 million poor.
Around this time, Chris and Jackie's relationship would grow even stronger. Though a new foe was on the horizon, Jackie's ex-boyfriend Lars was a buff ghetto black guy who was obsessed with toy boats. Chris soon after would start uploading videos attacking Lars. Towards the end of 2010, Chris for the 6th time that year would attempt to leave the internet. While he was gone from the internet, his home life would get even worse. In March, Chris emailed Jackie claiming to be a tomgirl. This would have lasting consequences. In May of 2011, Chris would join a troll-created forum called Tomboys and Tomgirls of Virginia, where he spent most of his time on the internet. In June, Chris revealed that he started using the women's restroom. Chris's tomgirl phase did not go over well with his parents. Bob called him a fat, and Barbara threatened to kill him.
Oh,
On
snap.
September 6th, Chris's father would pass away due to heart failure. After Bob's passing, the trolling of Chris would die down for the time being, leaving the only person left to troll Chris would be Chris himself. On the 4th of April, Chris revealed he finally lost his virginity to a prostitute on the site
I think I remember that. Like some Native American lady went to like a con with him or something, and they proceeded to do that. Either way, if I were a woman, right, there would be no amount of money that be able to make me do something like that. Nothing, nada, zip, zilch, zero. Cause that lives with you. You are now ingrained in the Christian lore. Is that really, like, do you really want that to be tied to your name? Such and such, Christian lost his virginity to such and such, and now that's in the Christian Wikipedia page. You must be out of your mind.
back page, which was shut down by the FBI for sex trafficking. Oops. Chris's internet activity at the end of 2012 and early 2013 would be minimal, with only small amounts of Facebook activity. On the 10th of January 2014, Chris's fucking house would burn down. After the house fire, the earlier signs of the Chandler's terrible financial situation would become more and more apparent. In August, Chris would come out as a lesbian-identified male / cross-dressing tranny. His words, not mine. On the 18th, Chris would announce on Facebook that he had a new girlfriend named Catherine. Do I even need to elaborate at this point? It's a fucking troll, obviously. At the end of the month, Chris would go on a date with Catherine, where Chris would do a tour of his rental house. In September, Chris would start selling customized merchandise. This would have lasting benefits. In October, Chris would spurg the fuck out of the fact that Sega had changed Sonic's arms to blue, and a month later, Chris encouraged his followers to boycott Sega and riot in the streets.
I remember that. Sorry, I keep pausing. I remember when Sonic got his arms turned blue in Sonic Boom. I wasn't tweaking out about it because I didn't have a Wii U, so I couldn't really play the first Sonic Boom. I didn't really care to play Sonic Boom, Fire and Ice, and Rise of Lyric. I think that's the 3DS entries. But yeah, I was not like... I thought it was weird at first. It was a little jarring. But like, I think it's kind of cool that Sonic has his own kind of design, you know? Like, I kind of like it. I like the scarf. I like the bandages. But I don't know. If you told me that when I was like 10, like, no, his arms are blue. But crazy thing is, there's like a daycare near my house that I've rode by millions of times, right? And they had a picture of Mario and Sonic painted on the window, as you know daycares would. And I remember I was like, yo, there's something wrong with that Sonic. I would look, and I think it was up until like Sonic Boom when that came out, when I still like when I gained consciousness and was able to like point things out. They painted his arms blue. I'm like, yo, and that bothered me for the rest of my life. I don't think that daycare is there anymore. But still, they painted his arms blue before Sonic Boom.
Vandalized Sega property. The day after Christmas, Chris would be arrested for pepper spraying an assistant at GameStop during one of his acts of protest. In January, the repairs on his house were finished and he'd moved back into his old house. In May of 2015, it was revealed that Chris was possibly taking hormone replacement pills and would soon after begin using the name Christine and going by female pronouns, which I will not be respecting! In the following month, he would attend his final court case and be charged with $541 for the pepper spray incident. In January of 2016, Chris would advertise his idea of a lesbian sleepover party to the internet, and surprisingly, no one was interested. In July, after watching hours worth of male-to-female hypnosis videos on YouTube, Chris would begin to believe that his China was forming beneath his taint. So Chris would use a knife and cut it out of his body. Members of the Kiwi Farms would start begging Chris to receive medical attention because an injury like this could easily have killed him. Luckily, after enough convincing, Chris would go see a doctor. In August, Chris would defend incest on Facebook and would admit to having sexual dreams about Barb.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
In November.
So, what he just said, that he just committed that word with his mom. Barb is his mom, right? This was like recent. This was like a couple months before he uploaded, I'm pretty sure. So I'm pretty sure we're about to start entering into unmarked territory, stuff that I've never heard of before, and I'm very, very scared to see what's going on in the Christian lore up until 10 months ago. I'm very, very scared.
November of 2016, Donald Trump, or as Chris would know him, would be elected president of the United States. Chris was not pleased and would start uploading death threats towards Trump. During this time, it was discovered that most of the money Chris gained through eBay was going to video games and toys instead of paying off Chris and Barb's tens of thousands of dollars of debt. In late March, Chris would start flirting with Planet Dolan artist Doopy Doo over. In April, Barb's account was overdrawn by $800. So to get some quick cash, Chris sold a Sonic Totem on eBay for $1,500 and immediately.
I don't know. I might have to take that back. Because I'm pretty sure the Sonic Totem was earlier. I'm not sure. I'm kind of messed up in my Sonic Shoe Christian lore. But still, you get what I'm saying? Like, it was either A, multiple instances of him with his mother, which is disgusting. Or B, I'm just getting the timeline confused. It was only one time. Still, it was gross.
Spent $750 on Skylanders and $400 on a gold necklace instead of actually paying off the $800. In April, Chris would do some archaeological digging and unearth the ancient artifact known as the Classic.
Yeah, I already know what question I'm about to ask. What does that smell like? I think out of all the videos, I think that's probably the worst smelling object between all the videos that we watched on this channel. That I can't imagine what the Sonic True OG's t-shirt smells like. If you put that up to somebody trying to choke them, they would pass out immediately and die immediately. Oh my gosh. Like not even a washer can fix that, man.
After his thought to be lost in the house fire of 2014. 2 months later, Chris would create an original character for My Little Pony known as Nightstar, who is yet another wish fulfillment Mary Sue self-insert character. In August, Chris would subscribe to Doopy Doo over his pornographic Patreon art account. Good idea, Chris. Buy porn while you're in extreme debt. Great idea. 4 days later, Doopy would create a Kiwi Farms account and would detail Chris stalking her Twitter accounts and flirting with her through her business email. In September, a white knight known as Jessica Quinn would start a relationship with Chris. Side note, let's take a look at Jessica Quinn's liked Facebook pages, shall we?
Where you eat is up to you.
Let's just take a second. We got a little palate cleanser. Let's just think about Wawa. Think about Wawa sandwiches, because that was a lot. That was a lot. So
But what you eat? Now that we can help with.
Mine. All right. So I usually get a quesadilla. I usually get a chicken salad sandwich, but I think the chicken salad sandwiches are kind of like seasonal for me, right? Because there would be points. I remember the very last one I ate was like probably a month or two ago. I ordered it. I bit into it. It tastes like garbage. I was like, yo, this is disgusting. I threw the whole sandwich away. My DoorDash deal was a little expensive, but still threw the whole sandwich away because I was not feeling it. So now I usually get a quesadilla with the buffalo chicken quesadilla with cheddar cheese, avocado, and I get 5 chicken tenders. Their chicken tenders are expensive, even though they're like very, very small. But they do be busting though. They are delicious, I will admit. Ooh.
Wow. In October, Chris would finish Sonichu issue number 12, which involves Rosachu getting fucking fat! Thanks, Jessica! I needed just... That same month, Jessica's account was allegedly hacked by trolls, causing Chris to make a cool, common, collected video in response to the situation. In November, Chris would be introduced to the Hyperdimension Neptunia franchise. This would have lasting consequences, and would begin posting some very out-of-character things on his Twitter. Little did anyone know, behind the scenes, Chris was being manipulated by a man named Jessica Wise, who would form a cohort of trolls known as the Idea Guys. Wise would contact Chris role-playing as John Yamada and told Chris his old Sega Dreamcast had a portal to Quickville, and that the lore of Hyperdimension Neptunia was actually real. Joshua would manipulate Chris into thinking the world of Quickville was real by pretending to be characters from Chris's world and using these characters as leverage against him to do stupid shit. In January, Chris would go to...
It got to a point where Chris Chan thought he was like Jesus or something. He was like the second coming of Jesus. And like, I think the My Little Pony ponies were like a part of that vision or something. I have no clue. I want to take a peek into Chris Chan's mind and just, not touch anything. I don't want to get infected with that, but you get what I'm saying? Like, I want to see how it works. I bet it just goes in complete reverse,
Magfest after hearing they had planned a panel about his life. This would be one of the few times where Chris seemed genuinely happy. During this time, Chris would keep uploading videos at the hands of the Idea Guys. Eventually, Kiwi Farms would investigate the manipulation taking place and would find Joshua Wise's personal information and publicize it. But it was futile. In March, Chris would announce that his love quest had finally ended. He was now in a polyamorous marriage with him, Magichan, and Crizel Rosechew. On 4/20, the funny weed day, the Idea Guys manipulation would reach its peak after a group chat was made where they roleplayed torturing Crizel. Keep in mind that from Chris's perspective, he's watching his wife have her limbs blown off. It's pretty fucked. If that wasn't bad enough, the next day he was forced to film himself jerking off while singing All-Star. During this time, Kiwi Farms users Marvin, Knoll, and the Captain...
Because why would you do that? At some point, like, when does the trolling get too far? Like, and when does it cross the line from, okay, you're just having a funny time teasing this person to, okay, now you're deranged. Watching Christian beat his wood to singing All-Star, the Shrek song. Why would you think of something like that? Why would you want to see something like that? That is disgusting. Disgusting behavior, disgusting act. Like, why would you? Speaking of beating wood, you remember, was it DSP, Darkside Phil, who was beating wood on stream, and then he was, and then he got it. Oh, this thing's on, and I think he just proceeded to keep streaming. Disgusting. That is so gross.
Would form a group known as the Guard Dogs to protect Chris against the Idea Guys, and shortly after would successfully get Chris to cut ties with the Idea Guys. Even though Chris was free from their control, the effects of their manipulation would last forever. 3 months later, Noel revealed the extent of the damage the Idea Guys had done to Chris. Apparently, the Idea Guys had extorted over $6,000 out of Chris. During the summer of 2018, Chris would start becoming more and more fascinated with the concept of alternate dimensions, and in October would upload a video announcing the beginning of what he calls the Dimensional Merge. This is where shit gets really confusing, so pay attention. The dimensions 1218, the dimension we live in, and the dimensions C197, the world where all fictional characters reside in, will combine to form a larger dimension known as 1C-211987 on the 31st of December of that year, and that Chris was responsible for all these dimensions colliding successfully. And not only that, but Chris is a console patron unit, or CPU, which is a goddess that represents game consoles, and Chris is the goddess of the Commodore 64. This is based off the Idea Guys manipulation with the Hyperdimension Neptunia franchise. Basically, TLDR, Chris is God and is gonna make Sonichu in real life. He also mentioned that Megan Schroeder, the girl he sexually harassed a decade ago, is actually a goddess too, because she just can't get a fucking break, can she? Chris would scour the entire internet trying to find Megan to tell her that she's actually an anime goddess. Megan responded by telling Chris never contact her again, and that she keeps that motherfucking thing on her. Around this time, Chris would start smoking weed with a group of teenagers known as the Teen Squad. And if you're wondering why I censored that last word, it's because apparently that's a slur or something. The Teen Squad were a bunch of enabler little shits that fed into Chris's delusions by saying they could see Magichan. During December, they would leak a number of videos, including one of Chris making out with Crizel. After the 31st of December came and went. Oh my gosh,
that's what he was doing? I thought he was like tripping out from hitting a bong or something. He was making out with an imaginary character. Can we get this guy some help? Can we get him in like an institution or something? This is just getting scary.
Without any signs of the dimensions merging, Chris would push back the date of the merge due to damn dimensional red tape. That's my Chris impression. An enabler named MKR Nightview would get in contact with Chris and would cuddle his delusions about the dimensional merge by saying that she too was a CPU goddess of the Nintendo Switch console. Apparently her goal with Chris is to give him moral support.
Like, imagine saying that. Imagine I'm the CPU goddess of the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch was specifically made for you to merge every single fictional character that was ever thought of in the real world. And those things, those game consoles, were made specifically to merge those two worlds and create a new paradise where everybody lives in peace and harmony. That's why where's my Switch is over there. My Switch is over there. I am going to the Holy Land. I am going to the Holy Land with Sonichu, Mario, Darkside Phil. I'm going. And for you guys to go, you guys need Nintendo Switch. You guys need Nintendo Switch Online. That's the only way you guys can make it. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's true. If you don't believe, I'm sorry.
Important to better him. During this month, large creators Chris interacted with would start blocking him on Twitter, which caused Chris to have an absolute fucking meltdown, comparing it to his trauma of being abused in his childhood at Nathaniel Green Elementary. In March, Chris uploaded a video of a package he received from yet another group of enablers, Sarah and Steve, who sent him a Nintendo Switch along with a note detailing their plans to move to Virginia with specific instructions to not let this letter get leaked online. Chris seemed to realize that he accidentally leaked the note on video, so he took the video down, then re-uploaded it immediately after, with nothing altered and the note still clearly visible. At around this time, a man named Jacob Sockness was getting attention online, who is a psychopathic, autistic, evil wizard man who is in love with Chris and claims to be possessed by the god of war and death, Jacoba, and claims to kill homeless people with magic. Sockness' own delusions would start to influence Chris. Ideas like the world of Kitasuna and the species known as the Rocat and the demonic god Jacoba would be accepted as fact in Chris's mind. This month, we would see Chris's mental state drop to new lows. Magic-chan would possess Chris's fucking body and would upload videos of himself talking to prove his body was possessed by Magic-chan. During the time his body was possessed, Chris's soul would apparently be in California with Sockness, where they would...
Hold on, I'm about to show y'all.
Magic-chan would possess Chris's fucking body and would upload videos of...
You'll see the custom Smash Sonichu thing in the top next to his head to the left. Like, that's not crazy to you? Somebody made that. Somebody made fan art of that for him. Oh my gosh, we are in so deep. Like, he is a public figure, but like the opposite of a public figure, if you know what I mean. Like, he's not there because he's done so much good for society. He's so well known because of how screwed up his life is. That's crazy. Himself talking to prove his body was possessed by Magic-chan. During the time his body was possessed, Chris's soul would apparently be in California with Sockness, where they would arrange to have Sockness visit him in his home. For hearing this, Kiwi Farms would start digging deeper into Sockness' background and would discover statements of him saying that if Chris didn't accept his sexual advances, he would rape him. Fortunately for the world, Chris and Sockness were too stupid to plan something out, so they get into an argument which ends up with Jacob not visiting him. Chris later claims Sockness was corrupted by evil. Then a short time after would become friends with Sockness again and plan to meet up on Halloween, which doesn't end up happening because both of them are very lazy and stupid. In the beginning of November, Sockness would get Chris to believe that Noel, the person who was actually trying to help him, was the devil incarnate. In March of 2020, the US would go into lockdown because of the coronavirus, which would make Chris's jimmies extremely rustled because he couldn't go to the Brony convention BabsCon to cope with the entire outside world being shut down. Imagine what that con smells like. I keep saying it, and I will say it until the end of time. What does that smell like? I remember they did a Bob's Burger episode about bronies, and the guy, he stole Tina's horse, and Bob had to go get it back, and Bob had to get a tattoo. Is Chris schizo? That is a very, very, very good question. If I had to guess, yes. From all of what we just watched, all the trolling, all the fake girlfriends, all the Sonichu, if you told me Chris was schizo, he was schizoid, I believe you, no doubt, 100%. Because there's no normal human being, mentally stable, mentally conscious human being making these kind of decisions, like time after time after time. There's no way. There's literally no way. And I feel bad for him because people are clearly taking advantage of him. People are clearly taking advantage of Chris Chan, and nobody's doing anything to step in. And when they try to step in, like this guy, the most recent guy, he was told that Chris Chan thinks he's the devil because it's some other dude, some other loser. Oh my gosh. The best way I can explain this, this is like the plane crash or a car crash, 20 car pile up. You cannot look away, but it's a terrible, terrible thing that's happening. But you absolutely cannot look away no matter what. Crazy.